Yeah, I was calling because I was like kind of wondering about y'all's ideas or thoughts on like how y'all about the political landscape of like right now. Like
Oh,
how do
she said
you think
politics.
it's gonna play out or
How do I
or
think it's going to play out?
well, I mean, not I I don't know. I'm just kind
I'm
of
trying.
just
Look, no, I'm tracking, Stephanie. I'm tracking. Paul, you want to talk about it? You've got a advantage from up north. You have any thoughts on
Well, I
this
guess
one? You want me to take?
I mean, we've discussed this prior that it's shocking to me that it is close. So I think that how it's going to go is going to largely depend on turnout, and it's going to be who can energize their base to turn out. I think Kamala has obviously is been much better at that than Joe was at energizing people. So that's really going to come down to that. So I mean, if you, I try and encourage my American friends, any who are discouraged, is to take that nervous energy and enlist people to make sure that they vote, and because ultimately it's going to be tough for you're not in one of the swing states necessarily, although wouldn't it be great if you were? That would be awesome, but you're not in one of the swing states. So if you know anyone in Pennsylvania, if you know anyone in Arizona, like, make sure you're on them about getting out to vote. So I think it's too close to call personally, even though I like where the trend is going. And it shouldn't doesn't you weren't even asking. I shouldn't presume what your politics are, Stephanie. I just think it's too close to call, and therefore, if you're in a swing state, do what you got to do to get people to the polls. And
Stephanie,
I think
what do
it's
you think?
ridiculous that
cool.
I think it's ridiculous that there's swing states at all. That's right. That was just the last thing I wanted to say. 'Cause from the outside perspective, that that's bizarre. Bizarre. But carry on.
Right. And I kind of wanted to touch on this, not discussion. It was, well, okay, we'll just call it a discussion for right now, that I had with my father, who is also an atheist. And he was planning on coming to seeing you, Seth, because he lives in Fort Worth, when you were here, but he's 85 and a bit disabled, and so he was decided not to come. At any rate, we were having a discussion of, I said, I just do not understand. Please help me understand why someone would actually back this man that is running, that I just do not understand. And, my father is an atheist, but he's a diehard Republican. And I am the black sheep, I guess you would call it, with my family. It's like all my family, my mother's side and my father's side are diehard Republicans. And I'm the only one with any sense. But it just makes no sense to me how someone cannot see him for what he is. And just especially because you're an atheist. And, so I was just really confused about that. And it's been going in my head for I think we had this conversation like last week, and it's just been replaying in my head. And so I just wanted to get it off my chest, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think you speak to one of the many questions that we've been asking ourselves here throughout the United States. I myself must have been so monumentally naive to think we would ever get here. Like I thought, well, with the rise of the non-religious, the rise of the seculars, we're seeing the sea change, the zeitgeist is evolving. I had underestimated the power players, which essentially started in the mid 20th centuries, but really got underway in the 1980s with the moral majority. And then came the Heritage Foundation, the Family Research
Yeah,
Council, all of these people who were wired in with the billionaires who well funded these strategic moves to essentially hijack everything from school boards to the Supreme Court. And they have been successful. I never suspected, never thought they would repeal Roe. I thought that was settled law. I just, and I look around and I think, wow, how did we get here? And I think the thing that really that strikes me is that it's the celebration of cruelty. If you watch
right,
many of the speeches, which are, I don't think it's hyperbole to say they are reminiscent of 1930s Germany, they are
right.
vilifying the other. They are coming to poison the blood of our country. They are eating, they're going to steal and eat your animals. They are the rapists coming over the border. They're the Hannibal Lecters. Well, this is straight up dehumanization, and there is a purpose. What you do is you target an easily scared demographic and you frighten them. It's the Fox News model. You lock them into an information silo. This is also what cults do. You lock them into an information silo, you put an authority in place and you say, trust us, trust no one else. We're giving you the facts, they're giving you fake news. And then you say that everybody's coming to take everything that's precious to you. They're going to come and take your freedom and steal your votes and make your Bible illegal and shut down your church and make your kids trans and steal your job and give it to an illegal immigrants. And everything's going to become satanic. And you get the people riled up, it becomes a holy war, and then they're really dangerous. So here in the United States, we have more guns than citizens in this country. We have
That
400
is what
million
I'm
firearms.
afraid of.
And I'm a gun owner. I've got
That
a couple of pistols. I have a couple of pistols I use for target shooting. They're not part of my identity.
is,
I would surrender them if there was a national recall. I don't, it's not like some of these guys where they have equated their firearm with their own notions of national identity and American freedom. I'm not that guy. I'm fully trained and responsible and licensed. Those people do exist, but I will tell you, there's an entire culture of people who have been frothing and waiting for an attack of Satan against everything they are and everything they want and everything they will do or can't do. And they are going to then declare a civil or holy war against the rest of us. I'm terrified. Forgive me for my rant,
yeah,
Stephanie, but you wanted to speak to that?
that is exactly how I feel. And yes, I do get nervous and about like what is going on, And
Yeah.
I blame Ronald Reagan and his extreme views, not extreme, but yeah, his backing from the Heritage Foundation. And that reminds me, the a caller like before Emir or before, I don't know, a couple of callers ago, he was talking about the heritage or the Bible and Noah's Ark and putting dinosaurs around because I was told Satan put dinosaurs in the ground to screw with our heads, But that was in 1991. I was in high school and I was just coming out of class, and someone stopped me in the hallway and was talking about intelligent design. And that must have been like right as not too long after the Heritage Foundation came through. And because, the time frame kind of gives the same. Do you know what I mean? I mean, this is why I can't debate anyone, because my mind goes and says like all these different things at the same
It's like
time.
a lightning strike, you take every streamer that comes along because they're all relevant and they all feel important. But I
Right.
feel you, Stephanie. I really do, and I share your concerns. But I think, let's keep kicking and let's continue to try to promote humanist values and whatever platforms and candidates most fit those. Right now, the perfect is the enemy of the good. And so be diligent. And thanks for spreading some rationality down there in Texas, America. Okay.
Hey, I'm trying, man.
All
So
right.
when are you
I'm going to
coming
move
back
on, my
to
friend.
Texas?
I'll
When are
I'll
you
be
coming
back to
back to
Texas
Texas?
probably next year. I do a speaking tour and usually hit either Dallas or Fort Worth, and then Austin, San Antonio, Houston. Usually do it in a weekend, and so I hope to be back. I'm doing, I think, a speech next year called "Seth Andrews Teaches Sunday School." I'm going to find all the weird
Oh,
shit that
cool.
we never heard on Sunday mornings. I'm going to turn that into a speech with some pretty awesome slides, and I'm going to try to bring that on the road next year. Okay.
Fun. I'm gonna travel around like a little groupie.
Oh, well, just come as
Not
a
really.
you will call you
I'm
family,
just
not a groupie. Okay? Well,
I'm just
we're family.
kidding. I'm just kidding.
Mhm.
I'm not that psycho.
All right, my friend.
Anyway,
Be
thanks
safe.
for
I'm gonna move
taking my
on.
call.
All right, we'll see you later. I'm
Take
kind of a momentum guy, so I'm trying to find those pauses and the
Hmm.
exit point. Let's talk about that just a little bit, Paul. I am surrounded by evangelicals who are almost cult-ish. Or and I look at they're out banging the Bible all the time, you know, biblical values, Christian values, Jesus, 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 Jesus. And I think to myself, okay, well, Jesus was often a problematic character, and we're not talking about this quite
Hmm.
a lot in the church. But if you read the New Testament, Jesus was sometimes a shitty character. Um, but let's say it's the best version of Christ, right? The ideal version of Jesus. Show me one thing about Donald Trump that would be Christ-like. And I'm just like, humility? No. Charity? No, he stole from charity. Um, don't love money? Are you shitting me? The guy's got a golden toilet. He talks all the time about how much of a hoarder he is. Don't bear false witness or lie. I mean, how he told what 300 lies during the debate. Don't covet, be humble, don't take vengeance. He actually tells people when someone wrongs you to go out and get even. He's a bully. Our parents taught us, don't be a bully. You're on the schoolyard and you see somebody who's being bullied, be their advocate. Go and be strong for them. Be their protector. That's what Jesus would do. And instead, I'm surrounded by evangelicals who take the guy who is the antithesis of the best version of Jesus, and they fucking love the guy. I can't figure it out, Paul. Do you have thoughts on that?
Well, I think those who think about it will acknowledge the character flaws. I'm dumbfounded by the ones that are just embracing and are seemingly oblivious to the notion that Jesus was about the leader should put themselves second. When you listen to a Trump speech, all you hear is what the presidency will do for him, not what the
Yeah,
presidency will do for the citizens. So that's obviously the opposite of the first shall be last and the last shall be first. But I think that the evangelicals I know, they hold their nose and they say, but abortion. And that is, there that's that single issue thing that no matter how you even I know some pastors who are even saying, hey, even if you disagree with foreign policy or economic policy of the Republicans, it's your moral duty that one blanket covers all. So until that comes codified into law, although who knows, until maybe it needs to be enshrined in an actual amendment to the Constitution before this will finally be put to bed, where that single issue will overweigh and trump, as it were, any any other considerations. That's
the
tough. It's a
pastor's
tough
on
one.
stage, and he's like, "Thou shalt not commit adultery." And then he goes
Mm.
out and he's got a Trump sticker on his car. I just don't get it.
No.
Oh, I mean, I do, and you speak to the single issue aspect. I do have a lot of people who that for them is the most important, in fact, maybe the only thing, because they have this vision in their mind of those evil libs going in the eighth month and 29th day, and they're twirling their even the women are twirling their mustaches
Right.
as they rip the baby out of the womb, and then they laugh to themselves, and then they drink the blood of the child to harvest adrenochrome for a fountain of youth. Then they all go and have a party at Comet Pizza in Washington, D.C. I mean, they have all these wacky conspiracy theories, not knowing, I mean, reproductive education, at least in the Bible Belt, is a joke.
Mm.
I knew I opposed abortion when I was a believer. I had no idea how fertilization worked. I didn't know that roughly half of all fertilized embryos fail, which would make God the most prolific abortion doctor in history. I didn't understand, certainly couldn't empathize with the struggles of people who had been impregnated or were going through rape trauma or abuse
Mhm.
or all of these other factors that were going on. All I knew is I had an opinion about it, which is pretty common in the faith. I didn't know what evolution was, but I sure had an opinion on it. I
Of
didn't know
course.
about
Yeah, me
this, or
too.
they didn't know about the founders, but I sure had an opinion on it. And so I'm struck, and I think that's one of the reasons why I'm such a fan of trying to promote actual science-based education. So I think if people understood what these things really were, if they understood their history, if they understood, they took real classes on the social studies, they would better understand the world they live in and would make more informed and better decisions.